Okay, well, I'm about 2 or 3 behind on my request for videos, so I've been trying to get to this one for about a week, and the local middle school just started a new session. They got kids running in and out of here, fourth graders playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Anyhow, so today we have a beautiful Buescher 140 Big B on the bell. So this was one of the standard, it was one step below the Super 400, which is a really nice saxophone too, but all the Bueschers are just wonderful. This is before Selmer got a hold of them and turned them into a Bundy, which is kind of sacrilegious, but anyhow, that's what happened. So very distinctive bell brace for the early Bueschers like this with a little double brace. The ribbon style key guards is very distinguishable. Amber rollers. And the springs, if you're out on a cruise ship somewhere, your springs break. These are phosphor bronze springs. First of all, I think I've replaced one in 25 years. They actually screw in and out. And when you bought the horn, you could get a card of all the springs, every spring for the horn. And if you broke one, you could find the one you need, screw it in, and you're back on the road. Just a marvelous, marvelous idea. And of course, nobody wants to take the expense to do it anymore. This originally came with a snap-in pad, just like a flute. You'd put the pad in, snap in, and the snap was actually a resonator simultaneously. So you'd snap in this big resonator and regulate it, and you're ready to go. I did one, and I said, I'm just going to do it, and I'm not going to put any glue, anything in there. And man, I just clamped it overnight, got up the next day, and it was just absolutely perfect, and all the left was to do was just a regulation. Tone holes were perfect, key work was perfect, and the pad size, thickness was perfect, and the size, diameter, and thickness was perfect, and it just went together like a dream. Just a marvelous, marvelous horn to work on. So, distinguished by the big B on the bell. Now this one, it was just the regular SOP in the 60s and 70s. You put your horn in for an overhaul, and they took it apart, they stripped it, they relacquered it, and put it back together. And that's what happened on this one. It was a relacquered at some point, probably, I don't know, maybe decades ago, but I don't think it was played since then. The pads look like brand new. So as, again, per usual, they didn't want to mess with the snap-ins. They want to be able to glue on the pads. So it's been repadded with like a Selmer plastic style resonator, which kind of, does away with the vintage value, but it's relacquered also. So it's basically a real pretty player's horn. But really, absolutely beautiful. You can see the pads are like brand new. And somebody did a really nice job. I just had to do a little tweaking on it to get it to play a little better. But somebody did a very nice overhaul on it. And again, it was just normal to have your horn relacquered at the same time as an overhaul. So it's got all new, pretty lacquer on it. It's got a nice age, got a nice color to it. Some of them, they put a clear lacquer on it, and it looks like a Yamaha student model. But this has got a beautiful, like an amber patina to it. And it'll probably age out. I'm sure they probably put real lacquer on it back then. So anyhow, got one little ding in the bottom bow right about there. I might try to get it out, but a lot of times it looks worse. It's such a small one. Other than that, very straight body. Serial number 323 and change. I think if you look in your books, I think it's around 1940, something like that. Maybe 1950 at the earliest, but probably around the 40s. So this was in the heyday, and just engraved all the way up and down the bell, and a little even down the bottom bow a little bit. And you can see they preserved, probably the nicest relacquer I've seen, preserving 90% of the engraving. So from the factory, it was lacquered and then engraved through the lacquer, so it was nice and deep. And as soon as you relacquer it, it fills in all that engraving. So it was barely buffed. To get all that engraving still that much intact. So whoever did it, and you can see the pads look like brand new. And you can see, again, the resonators was probably a little bit bigger than the original, so it probably got a little more oomph than the original ones. So personally, I had to put a riser on the D key, and the rest of them feel okay, but the D key was just a little bit too far in for me. I'm used to the Yamahas and Yanagisawas all sticking out. But real mother pearl instead of plastic like they use these days. So anyhow, this is, and I've actually just got in the matching tenor to this with a beautiful original lacquer. And anyhow, you don't want to hear the whole story on that, but I mean, these people just do not know how to pack a saxophone. So anyhow, there it is. Buescher 140, big B on the bell. I sold a friend of mine years ago the Berry version, and she just absolutely loves it. This is a wonderful era for the Buescher company. Good old George Buescher came over and started making these great saxophones. So anyhow, I'm going to do a little Coltrane-ish little ballad thing here. And see if I can keep up with no bouncing ball on this one for me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
chops are gone. So just really nice right down to that low B flat. So you just slide right across these nice amber rollers. Subtone all the way down there. And again, pads. So to have this work done, I'm selling it for about half of what it would cost nowadays to have this work done, the relacquer and maybe just even a repad, selling for not much more than the price of a Bundy, which is just absolutely nuts. But I probably have had this horn for over 5 years and just kind of forgot about it. And it was on my page and somebody goes, hey, you got a big B. So the big thing on these is that there was a guy named Sigurd Rascher, who was one of the big schools of classical saxophone playing in the 60s and 70s. And I took lessons from one of his pupils. And the whole thing, according to him, this cone-shaped body is not exactly symmetrical all the way down. It's got a little bit of an elliptical to it. And that's why these have this sound to it, because it's not exactly round. It's a little exactly a little elliptical. So that's the whole story of the Buescher. So this is all the Rasher students have to have this particular horn or something in this series. So that's the whole story on the history of this thing. So, but I've had numerous Bueschers, and I've had the 400s and the Aristocrats and the Big Bs, and they all are just wonderfully made instruments. The craftsmanship back then is just out of sight. So anyhow. So a little different than modern day horns as far as the ergonomics go. You know, the keys are just flat. There's no little flips and everything. But once you play this thing for maybe just a day or two, it just feels like home. You got this big. This is one of my pet peeves. I hate this. You got the big thing. A lot of times it sticks out so far. It's the first thing that gets smashed. Luckily, this one's in really nice shape. This is where your little marching job goes in. And it takes a round shaft one instead of a straight one, so it's flopping all over. And the first thing I do is take the screw out, because that makes it even stick out farther. But anyhow, a beautiful, beautiful job. Complete restoration. All new corks and felts are real pretty. On a Buescher 140 Big B Aristocrat alto saxophone. And you see the bottom, you know, it's got that nice big brace on it. I mean, big guard on the bottom. And again, just a couple little dings here on the bottom bow. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, right there. It's just a slight light one. And there's another one somewhere, but I guess it's so small I don't see it. Anyhow, and these big, massive ribbon guards are just super, super strong. Got a nice sterling silver thumb rest. These are usually pushed in over the years, as sometimes in the case it gets bonked. So I got a beautiful case for it. I think it's a Victoria case, and probably not the original one. The original ones were brown, like a tan deerskin brown with a dark brown lining on them with a little Buescher insignia. And this is probably a little bit newer case, but it fits it just absolutely perfect. And you'll see pictures on the web page of everything. So there it is. So you can scream on it or just whisper. So there it is. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. One of my favorite brands in the world. The Buescher Aristocrat Big B Model 140. Really nice. Just a nice little pearl there. A friend of mine puts a big old piece of cork on there and makes it so it's a little more surface area there for your thumb. But again, once you get used to it, what I've done is I've taken a mouthpiece patch and just stick it on there, and it gives you a little more traction, so it's not so slippery. I just noticed I still have my 1, 2, 3 from the 4th graders numbering their fingers, so they can see the Mary Had a Limb. And they don't get out of here until they're playing Mary Had a Little Limb. Anyhow, running out of time. Got to keep it short. So www.stevegraysaxes.com. www.stevegraysaxes.com if you want to check out the pictures and price.